and I'm very happy to introduce you to Simon McKenzie, who is going to have your mouths well and truly watering by the end of this, as we talk all about food, which is just wonderful. So if you've got any questions about how to make the perfect roast potato or anything like that, then save them up and ask them at the end, and I'm sure he'll be more than happy to oblige. So let's just crack on with the get some. We've got some amazing pictures for you for this one. So Simon, he will talk a bit, obviously a lot more about himself and so on. But one of the wonders for us about working with Simon is his incredible knowledge and passion for what he does. So when we're looking at whether it's a bespoke lunch or an evening dinner for our clients, as we've talked about on a number of our tea and training sessions, the food is so important. We've got to get it right. And whether it's a fabulous, warming, hearty lunch in the midst of a shooting day, or whether it's a more refined okay, Anna, we'll try and get it all in before you go. Or whether it's a more refined dinner, then Simon's your man. And I will ask him to share his Instagram address with you as well, because the pictures that he posts of all sorts of fabulous food is just wonderful. So well worth following, that's for sure. So I'm not going to explain stuff that Simon will do a whole lot better than me, but Simon, it'd be great to hear in your words a bit of background. When did you discover your passion for food, and where did you learn?
Yeah, no, hi everyone. So I come from a catering background, to be fair. My dad was a chef. My great aunt, she owned 2 hotels, one in Cyprus, one in the Channel Islands. So it's always kind of been involved in cooking some way or the other. However, you know, it's like when you're growing up and people used to ask me, what are you going to be when you grow up? They say, I'm going to be a chef. And I used to get a clip around the ear off my dad saying, like, no, you're not going in any kitchens. I think I got to about 8 years old, and I used to watch his cooking program on TV with him sat next to me. I don't know, I just must have been glued to it one day and said, do you really want to know how to do that? I said, yeah, for sure. And he said, right, come on in the kitchen then, and I'll teach you everything they showed us each week. He used to take me in the kitchen and teach me how to do it himself. So by the time I got to cookery school, I pretty much knew the first 2 years. I knew everything, you know, so I was always kind of like the lecturer's pet, I suppose. They'd show us how to start things off, disappear around the class, and I used to do their prep as well as my own, you know. So I suppose that's where it all stemmed from. So did 2 years at college. I'm from the northeast of the UK. Then 17, moved to London. Went to work at a hotel called the Lanesborough on Hyde Park Corner for a chef called Paul Gaylor, and did 3.5 years there. Ran all the sections, and got a really, really good grounding. Kind of, that was the foundations for my career. And definitely, you know, if you got a do-over and you did everything again, I definitely wouldn't change them 3.5 years at the Lanesborough, because that set me up for everything that followed. From there, kind of bit of stars in my eyes, I guess, and decided to go and work for Gordon Ramsay. So did Gordon Ramsay when he was 1 Michelin star up to 2 Michelin stars. So like you see these guys that write Gordon Ramsay on the CV now, they get it easy compared to what we had, you know. I was there when he was cooking on the fish section every night. You know, his hands dirty, he was in the kitchen doing prep with us all day and things like that. So really kind of in the early days of Gordon Ramsay, that was his first restaurant, his first head chef's job. From there, I then moved off and did Marco Pierre White for a year, kind of refining cookery, I suppose. What Gordon didn't do that Marco did was get me to ask why I'm doing things. You know, Gordon, you just didn't speak. Don't ask any questions, just do as you're told. whereas Marco is very much you need to know the reasons why you're doing it, ask the questions. It's really cool. So after that, moved to another London restaurant called Fulham Road, which was a 1 Michelin star. Did a couple of years there to kind of more senior roles, and then left London. I suppose that's kind of, in a nutshell, that's really whirlwind, isn't it? But that takes you to I'm about 22 now. Left London and moved back to the Northeast. I did a year and a half in a Northeast restaurant, which is kind of, it's probably called Seaham Hall. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever heard of it. It's Red Star, 3 Rosette, was a Michelin star back in the day. Did that as senior sous chef and then as acting head chef for 6 months. And then kind of made my way off to gain accolades in my own right. Did a stint as a head chef around country house hotels around the UK, but wasn't really getting to where I wanted to be. It was kind of, I was cooking to a high level, but I wasn't getting to, on the pedestal that I wanted to put myself, that I'd kind of the goals I'd set myself. So took a step back down to senior sous chef in a 2 Michelin star hotel called the Vineyard at Stockcross, and did 2.5 years there as number 2 in the kitchen. Then from there, kind of went off and actually started gaining the accolades and the recognition I wanted to gain. Took on a hotel in Scotland as head chef called Isle of Eriska, which is Relais Chateau, 5 Red Star, 3 Rosette. I gained the 3 Rosettes up there. Did that for 2.5 years. Then I moved to the Channel Islands, to Guernsey. I won a few accolades there. Won Channel Islands Chef of the Year 3 years in a row. And kind of got fed up with the Channel Islands and came back to the UK, and kind of to where I am now. So that's about, well, it's about 22 years in about 3 minutes, because I know one of you's got to leave early.
That's brilliant. But I think what has come across loud and clear is you've got a fair amount of experience under your belt, and you've worked with, well, from a layperson's opinion or view of your world, 2 of probably the most challenging chefs out there in terms of what they'd ask of you. That's interesting that Marco Pierre White got you to understand more about why you were doing what you were doing. So that seems to me to make a lot of sense. So what stands out in terms of your approach to food now and cooking for private groups, whether it's a dinner party, whether it's a shooting lunch, and so on? What's everything that you've sort of brought through from all of that experience that for these guys' clients will enjoy?
Yeah, I think it's, I really enjoy now where, when I was in hotels and restaurants for that matter, I've got a sales team come to me saying, well, we've got a client, they want this, and it's very much they're in the middle trying to interpret what the client actually wants. Whereas now I meet people that are really focused on clients. It's not just a 9-to-5 job for them. They're really passionate about the clients that's coming through, and they want to make things, they want to make their dreams come true, don't they? It's funny. Actually, I was talking to a client today, and I didn't realize he's American, and he's still on. He still works on American time because his office is in New York, and it's his wife's birthday next Thursday, so he wants a surprise dinner party for her, just for the 2 of them and their 3-year-old daughter. So he called me today. We just refined his menu. He said, "Look, I've got your menus, and I really hate to ask you to do this, so feel free to say no. Could we have Thanksgiving kind of dinner, because we're not going to be able to do that with our family this year, and it'd be really nice to kind of make that happen." He said, "But I don't want to offend you." I was like, "You can't offend me. It's not my event, is it? This is your event. So if that's what kind of makes you happy, my menus are there just to, the suggestions, the things that I think are great, things that I'm passionate about right now. But you want an amazing Thanksgiving dinner, then we'll pull that off for you, and we'll make it as good as we can, and hopefully you love it." And that's what the reputation we're growing in the area is, that you can come to us and we're not set in stone, we're bespoke, and we'll make your event happen around you the way you want it to happen. During his call, he said, I've got a cake coming from my wife, but it's coming at 3 o'clock and it's a surprise. So I don't know how I'm going to do that. That's why it's easy. You get them to deliver to me and I'll bring it with me. And she doesn't need to know, and it's kind of, we go that extra mile, and kind of, I get a kick out of, making his expectations happen and go beyond that for him.
Yeah, you do the same with food as we do with experiences, so that's why that's why it works, which is brilliant. Now, I've got to ask you this because obviously British cooking didn't exactly have the best reputation on the planet up until, I don't know, probably the 90s, early 90s maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you did not come on holiday.
Just when I got in the industry.
Food, did you? So, I mean, obviously so much has changed, thank the Lord, but what's sort of new and happening now? What are all the trends and so on over here?
Yeah, it was, it's really, really weird. So about, I'd say 3-4 years ago, I was involved in an article that was entitled the death of the tasting menu. And I was really with this. I was like, yeah, tasting menus are over. Nobody wants them anymore. No guest wants to be dictated. You're going to eat 8 courses and these are what they are. Everyone wants freedom of choice. I got that completely wrong, because tasting menus are so back on trend, aren't they? I know several restaurants that's kind of given up with a la carte, and these are the dishes, these are what you're eating, and everyone seems to love it. So it's funny, it's kind of come full circle and back in. So I think, definitely into next year, I think tasting menus are back in. I keep getting asked for them. I do at the moment during lockdown over here. I do restaurant boxes, and so it's basically 3 courses, all packaged up, and it's probably a step further than when you go to a restaurant and order off their a la carte menu, and really simple instructions and feedback from our clients. Basically 3 courses for 2 people. They'll spend 40 minutes for the whole evening in the kitchen, even plating up and everything.
Perfect.
But then I'd say 30% of them ask me to increase the tasting menus for them. So I've got one going out tomorrow night for a really old couple in their 60s, and they want canapes and 5 courses and petit fours.
Oh, perfect. And yeah, I mean, I did Humphreys TV from Crockers, which is our newest restaurant in Henley, and they have two chef's tables. So the bar and grill area is the small bit of the restaurant, and the main bit is one Asian taster menu and one British, which is fantastic. But it's very encouraging that it's also good. And yes, Ginger, I agree with you. I think it probably was worse than the Irish. There we go. So, what would you say is absolutely key to if we've got some clients who want a really lovely lunch on an estate? What are the sort of what are the key things that we should always include for their enjoyment?
Yeah, I think certainly when you're looking at estates, it's looking what's available on the estate. So if it's shooting, looking at incorporating game, if there's nice rivers running through the estate, it's looking at fish and things like that. So you're almost bringing the estate into the dining room and onto a plate, and you kind of feel that whole heritage behind it, but then with very modern cooking styles, and being sympathetic to the ingredients and things like that. I think that's really important. As all across the UK, there's great produce, isn't there, and foraging and, getting out in the wild and things like that. I'm not a fan of doing that. I've got people that do it for me. I like to stay warm in the kitchen, but I can definitely get my hands on them ingredients, and I really enjoy using them. I did an event probably about 3 weeks ago now for a client, really clear what they wanted. They want a langoustine starter. And I don't really use a lot of langoustines, but one of my friends locally has got a really good restaurant. They do. I checked his menu first before I said I would do it, and so he had langoustine on there. And these langoustines come down from Scotland overnight, so they arrived into my kitchen 12 hours after they were out the lock. And so
Wow.
really snappy, really. I think there's a picture on here somewhere of my finger bleeding. That's how snappy they were. First time, first time ever, one of them actually got me and locked on, and I couldn't get it off.
Brilliant.
It's produce like
Simon,
that.
we've had a question about what is the dish on the left, please.
This one right now.
Yes, the picture now.
Okay, so that one is roast loin of spring lamb. So underneath it, there's braised shoulder. So okay, with lamb, the top bit, the fat, you render the fat, then caramelize it later, and you get a really sweet, intense lamb flavor. But actually, the loins of lamb, they're not so strong flavored. It's quite a delicate lamb flavor. So I'm quite a fan of then using the shoulder. So the shoulder underneath, that was salted down for 4 hours, and then that was braised for 18 hours, and then stranded. So that's really, really punchy, really rich. So you it really punches the lamb flavors through.
Wow.
Rosemary gnocchi, so obviously lamb and rosemary go really well. This was a bit of a summer dish, to be fair. Semi-dried cherry tomatoes. So again, put them in the dehydrator for 2.5 hours at 56. Really kind of intensifies the flavor. Some charred shallots there with balsamic. So again, balsamic lamb, you're getting a sweet acidity into the dish. And the charring, you're getting that kind of bitter scorched tones. Don't want to say burn, but coming through. Peas give it freshness and vibrance. A little bit of spinach gives it some pepperiness. Then you've got, which is a bit of a curveball, you've got goat's curd on there. So you kind of, goat's cheese and lamb work really, really well together. But goat's curd, I think it's kind of like whipped goat's cheese, really, really light, isn't it? Really delicate. So on a summer dish like this, it works really well. And obviously peas, goat's curd, goat's cheeses go really well. And then just a light basil jus, got little bits of basil cress around.
Wow. Okay, I think
that was for tea for my family. No, I'm joking. It was for the client.
Oh, brilliant! Well, I think you're making everyone very hungry, which is fantastic, and was the object of the exercise. So, you've talked about the langoustine and so on. What about the sourcing of all of the ingredients is key, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So do you have a special group of suppliers with whom you work, or how does it work?
Yeah, I'm really fortunate that through my career, certainly as a head chef, I built relationships up with some really great suppliers, and they know me inside and out. Ben, who looks after all my fruit, veg, and specialized dry stores, he's got a group of buyers on Rungis in Paris, which is where they're based. And so I'll say to Ben, can you get me X, Y, Z? And he'll message me back and say, you're not going to want it. It's not good enough for you. You'll send it back to me. And so my suppliers know they know my standards, and if it's not good enough, they'll say no. So the client with the langoustine, before I said yes to her, I said I need half an hour to source the langoustines, knowing that I know the company up in Scotland. I used to use them years ago, but I don't use enough langoustine to set up an account with them. So quickly checked my friend's restaurant menu online, and so he was using them. No, he uses the same company. Checked he would stick an order in for me. Otherwise, I'd have gone back to the client and said, apologies, I can't get the langoustines. I won't go and buy second-rate produce. I'd rather not do it and source something else instead. At the end of the day, I've said this for so many years. If I don't have the best produce to use, I can't produce the best dishes. Why set off on the back foot with second-rate produce?
Absolutely, absolutely. Brilliant. Okay, I'm now going to put you on the spot. And we recommend restaurants, obviously, and all of so many fabulous English pubs and so on for all of our clients coming over. Can I have a favorite? I'll give you a top three
Okay.
restaurants, pubs.
Okay, so across the UK.
Yeah.
So top three across the UK at the moment for me. Sat Baines. He's in just outside Nottingham.
Yeah.
Small restaurant with rooms. Chef Patron with his wife, and he's just gone on from strength to strength. He was always very cutting edge with science and molecular gastronomy, but without clouds of smoke and things like that going off, it's still it's still proper cooking. And so, yeah, he's great. His book is amazing. Second, I'd say Watley Manor. So you probably know Watley Manor's Relais Chateau. Chef in there called Niall Keating. He's just won the Michelin Young Chef of the Year last year. Really, really cool. I've got a really close friend. She used to be the senior inspector for the AA for 15 years. She headed them all the inspectors up, and she raves about Niall's cooking. You know, she said he's faultless. And third, I'd go for Yinshar Hall in Wales, which is a guy called Gareth Ward. So
yeah,
Gareth's really, really cutting edge, really cool guy. He worked for Sat Baines actually for years and years, then left wanting to be a head chef himself and couldn't find the right restaurant. So about 3-4 years, he just temped in really basic kitchens because he wouldn't take a job that wasn't the ideal job. Then Yinshar Hall came around and the kitchen was built around him. He finds people locally to carve bowls out of wood to fit the dishes. He doesn't use any salt in the kitchen at all. So he uses products like caviar, like soya sauce, which are natural salt to season the dishes.
Oh, right.
So very clever. Chefs serve all the courses. So you're actually speaking to the guys that's cooking the dishes as they're coming down.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Thank you for that. Thanks for answering as well. That was a bit unfair. So is one of those three chefs or somebody else the chef you probably admire the most? Was it someone you worked for maybe?
No, I think I admire them in their own right for what they've done and what they've achieved. I think the person I would look up to is a guy called Jason Atherton.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so Jason obviously worked for Gordon Ramsay, then opened Pollen Street Social, then lots of social eating houses. Then he's gone international, hasn't he? He's all around the world, Singapore, etc. But I think Jason's food is really, really good, really clever. I've eaten at Pollen Street 3 times and a couple of the other restaurants. But I think where Jason's different to say Gareth Ward or Sat Baines, he's not setting the world on fire. He's never going to get 3 stars anywhere. But as a restaurateur, he's completely rounded. He sees the whole experience from the moment the phone's answered to the moment you leave. You know, and I think that's really important, and a lot of chefs fall short there, where they're not looking at the whole experience. I think one of the best decisions I made, I went off and I was a GM of a 14-bedroom hotel gastropub for a year and a half, and forced myself to actually be out the front in a suit talking to guests and, you know, serving them. But I think that kind of taught me to start looking at the whole experience.
Yeah.
Which is how that helps me so much in the business today. You know, that when someone phones up with an inquiry, it's me that's answering the phone, to it's me that's organising the event, to I'm the one cooking it on the day. And then I'm the one following up the next day, making sure you enjoyed the experience and all your guests were happy.
Yeah, yeah.
Rather than just turning up and cooking.
The experience is just such a huge part of it, and we are so focused when we're creating the itineraries for our guests that if they're going to a pub or a restaurant or whatever, that it follows that red thread of the day, and it feels like the place that they should be before, you know, they head off to their next activities. And it's great to hear you say that, because it is it's a wonderful experience, isn't it, eating?
Well, it is, and the thing is, for us, it's kind of a client is, you know, we're dealing with clients day in, day out, and they've all got their own unique experiences that they're looking for. But for them, this is kind of, you know, perhaps something they've been planning for a year, and you've got one opportunity to make that right for them. You know, you're only going to get, you know, the local clients I have, you're only going to get one chance at a 40th wedding anniversary or a wedding or something like that, hopefully, you know. So it's kind of making that memorable and making it seamless, and especially when clients are trying to do something very special.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure on them that they pull it off, and their guests enjoy it, and their guests blown away by the experience. And so I think it's making them feel at ease and giving them confidence that they're in the right hands and that you've got everything for them. And I've been working on a New Year's Eve tasting menu for a client. She booked me back in February, and she's just come back with. We started emailing menu ideas this week, and she said, "Oh, could we have chocolate for dessert? Could we have this here, this here?" I said, "You can have whatever you want, but you're building the menu to be richer and richer and richer." And so I'm just going to let you know that it might not just be sore heads the next day. Tummies might not be so happy either. So maybe if you want that, we'll do it. And it's kind of having the confidence to say to clients, they don't know, do they? They don't know how to balance menus or things like that. And it's having the confidence to say, are you sure? But maybe it would work better like this, and laying the options out.
Yeah. And that's why they want your expertise.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the last question for me before you hopefully you may well get some questions about tips and so on. But bearing in mind you've got a British and American audience here, no pressure. But which country serves the best food in your opinion?
Are the two of us, are you saying, or anywhere in the world?
No, you can choose anywhere in the world.
Okay. I'd say, I haven't been, but I'd say Hong Kong. Hong Kong's kind of culinary destination.
Oh, is it? Golly, I was not expecting you to say that. Fantastic.
Yeah, and if you look at the high-end Michelin star chefs, certainly in the UK, that are out looking for inspiration and kind of refining their techniques, they're all heading to Hong Kong. I have been for a couple of years now.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. Okay, well, Simon, that's fantastic, and it's so lovely to hear your perspective on putting together all of the menus and so on. So please let me know if you've got any questions at all. We've had some fabulous comments all the way through while you've been chatting, and you've certainly achieved the objective of making everyone very hungry, which is is great. So whether it's Tamara has said that she thinks Hong Kong has the cheapest Michelin star restaurant.
Oh, really?
Tamara, can you remember the name?
I wouldn't know. I mean, if you asked me to name any of the restaurants in Hong Kong, I don't know any. I just know this is where kind of the chefs that I follow on Instagram and look at for inspiration and things like that.
Right.
And in the last few years, that's where you see them heading off there.
Oh, interesting. Oh, we can do a bit more digging. So any tips or hints? Because obviously Simon's been doing all his research into the perfect Thanksgiving dinner. So you've got that just round the corner. So if you can help in any way, just let us know. Oh, here we go. Barbara, it's because it's now a one couple celebration instead of obviously a big family day that they would normally have. Sure. Do you have a unique, easy suggestion to make this day really special?
No. The problem with Thanksgiving. So when I was talking to my client earlier today about Thanksgiving, I said, look, I've got to be honest with you. I've never done any American Thanksgiving dishes. I said, so you start asking me to whip yams. I'm going to be honest. I've never cooked a yam in my life, and I don't want to whip the poor fella. I said, but he said, okay, well, just think of your UK Christmas lunch and interpret that for us. So with that in mind, kind of the roast turkey and parsnips and roast potatoes and things like that. There's so many elements to Christmas Day lunch, which I pretty much think is the same as Thanksgiving for you guys. My tip is put away some time the day before and lots of preparation, kind of get your veg already part cooked or at least prepped and peeled down, your potatoes peeled, cut. So that actually on Thanksgiving, you're not stuck in the kitchen for 4 or 5 hours. That's what I would say. If any of my clients said to me, how can I make Christmas Day easy for myself? I'd say, Christmas Eve, block off 4 hours and get rid of all that work then, just put it off in your calendar and then you'll find that actually Thanksgiving Day or Christmas Day is going to be a lot easier for yourself.
Yeah, and I think, and actually, Barbara, particularly, I guess, if you are just a couple instead of a house full of people, it's even more important to have some good prep, isn't it? Because you want to spend the day together rather than one of you or both of you even in the kitchen. So Ginger would like to know if you know any chefs over in Ireland, and have you been to Food on the Edge?
No, not been to Food on the Edge. So there's a restaurant in Dublin called Patrick Guibo, which is a 2 Michelin star, which I ate at many years ago. I don't know, probably about 15 years ago. I ate there, and that was really, really good. Obviously, 2 Michelin star. So that was good. I'm trying to think. Ireland's a bit, it's a bit difficult. They pop up and then disappear. But I think Ireland hotel scene has changed a lot in the last probably 4 or 5 years. And I think they've pulled their socks up a little bit and realized they were getting left behind.
And then we've like we have, I don't know how many Michelin stars we have now across the island. Just I think we've got 4 or 5. But then like Thornton lost his this past year, which completely changed his mind about everything.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Tamara's asked a question that I think will be useful for everybody. Thank you for that. About where you are happy to work, Simon, geographically.
Hey, I'll go anywhere. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously locally is easy, but there's a cost to moving further afield. But I'm happy to go anywhere. Clients always say to me, I've got a really nice kitchen, there's plenty of oven space and things like that. It's like, hey, I'm not bringing raw ingredients and starting from scratch at your house, So I'm always comfortable kind of doing the bulk of prep here.
Yeah.
Because I've got the equipment that I know the kitchen. And also I'm honest with my clients. I say, if I come to your house with raw ingredients, I'm not perfect. Sometimes things do go wrong. And then I'm in a situation where I can't change it. If it goes wrong here, I can fix it.
Yeah.
But then that said, I used to be part of a program called the International Chef Exchange. So this was when I was on Guernsey, and I was part of it for about 5 years. I've done pop-ups in The Hague in the Netherlands, been to St. Lucia, did 2 pop-ups in St. Lucia, been to Sweden, Italy, into London, Fitzrovia, Jersey. So kind of anything's possible.
That's what we love. Anything is possible.
Anything's possible.
Tamara, sorry, yes, we should have specified. We're in a little place called Henley-on-Thames, which is just about 25 miles west of London. It's a lovely little market town. So we're in the heart of the Chilterns, which is a lovely area that goes down the sort of west side of London, and just a hop, skip and a jump away from the Cotswolds. So in the heart of beautiful Oxfordshire countryside, but not far from London either. It is lovely. We're very lucky to live here. Thank you. Right. I think we've answered all of the questions. Oh, we've the name of the restaurant we did find is called Tim Ho Wan.
Okay.
So there you go. Yams with marshmallows and bacon on top. Wow.
Oh, really? Wow.
Fantastic.
I would trust you on that one.
Well,
that's a traditional Irish or American. So you would have, but I changed it around, and it wouldn't be mashed. It would be, chunkier.
Yeah.
And then,
okay.
yeah. So it'd add a bit more flavor. But
I see the bacon, but you've kind of got a big, controversial with the marshmallows.
Marshmallows, not big ones.
Fantastic. Right, well, Simon, a huge thank you. That was just fantastic, and is making my
thank you for having me on.
supper that I'm planning this evening sound really very dull, but never mind. So it's just been wonderful to hear your story, but also I think to hear firsthand your absolute passion for good food, and more importantly, well, not more importantly, but also making it such an experience for your guests. So that's been brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. Right. Here we go. Okay. Sorry, is that a... I missed that. Sorry. Okay. So next week we are going for a little tour across royal and aristocratic England. So we're doing, as you will have seen in the calendar possibly, we're doing a one up in Scotland as well. So for the purposes of next week, we're just focusing on England, and we have some absolute treasures of aristocratic houses, some wonderful royal links, and so on. So if you've got any clients who just love our royal and aristocratic history and want to go exploring some of the most beautiful stately homes in the country, then don't miss us. Next Wednesday, same time at 5 o'clock, and we really look forward to seeing you then. So thank you everybody so much for joining us. It's been lovely to see you, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.